Good morning. Welcome or welcome back to Bookeemonsters. My name is PK. It is Wednesday. It is April the 15th, and we're here to look at the new releases in crime fiction and thrillers, so the darker side of mysteries. Hope you're having a good day. Bobby said, birthday boy is here. Well, happy birthday. Happy leveling up day. Lena says, happy birthday, Bobby. And wow, you are a birthday boy now. Indeed. Hi, Elena. How are you doing? She says, I am good. Oh, good. And Amy says, good morning, everyone, and happy birthday, Bobby. Good morning, Amy. All right, so quick announcements. I don't have any sprints tonight. I don't do them on Wednesday night. Our next sprints are tomorrow night, Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Friday, there will be a morning show because we will look at the rest of the cozy mysteries. And here are the crime fiction and thrillers. David Baldacci has a new one. Hope Rises, second in the Walter Nash series. Walter Nash, working under the alias of Dylan Hope, is on the road to revenge after becoming an informant for the FBI against a global criminal operation headed up by Victoria Steers. Steers has ripped everything Nash held dear away from him. He has nothing left to lose, and with long, rigorous training under his belt, the gentle and sensitive Nash has transformed into something he never thought he'd be, a physically imposing man with lethal skills. And now he has only only one goal left in life, taking down Victoria Steers. In order to succeed, he's going to need to cross enemy lines and work the job from the inside. But Steers is shrewd and only brings those she trusts completely into her inner circle. Nash must rely on every ounce of his hard-earned skills in order to prove himself an ally to Steers if he's ever going to get close enough to decimate her criminal empire. Yet, despite hating the woman for destroying his life, Nash finds himself oddly drawn to Steers in ways that he never could have imagined, and what he ultimately discovers will turn all he believed upside down, forcing Nash to do something truly unfathomable. So, will the truth set Nash free, or end him? I bet he finds out Victoria isn't the bad one. There's a bigger bad one. Just saying. Otherwise, he has no love interest. Mary says, good morning, good morning. She says, good morning to everybody. Happy Wednesday. The gang is all here. Indeed. And Cajun is usually listening in the background because she's at work. Handle with Care by Mabeth Mayhew Whalen. On a quiet spring afternoon, an ordinary small-town post office becomes ground zero for a domestic dispute. A husband draws a weapon and seals the doors, holding 4 women captive. His frightened wife, a young woman searching for meaning amid uncertainty, a mother on the brink of letting go as her only daughter graduates, and an elderly woman concealing a secret that could shatter everything she knows. Outside, the negotiator works to keep a fragile peace, forced to confront her own issues as every word becomes a lifeline. Each of the 3 women who walked into the post office is carrying something that, if mailed, would profoundly change her life. As minutes become hours in this day-long siege, these strangers forge lasting bonds. This book shines a light on hope found even in the darkest moments and illuminates how even strangers thrown together by chance and hardship have the power to change each other's lives. Hunted by D.E. Beckler, second in the City Streets Mysteries. The streets can be deadly, and now an old friend is dead. When a homeless man's body is found in a derelict school, appearing to have died of an overdose, Victor Mitchum knows it wasn't an accident. He knew Sonny from his own days on the streets. Sonny was clean, scared, and being hunted by dangerous people. Working with private investigators Casper and Zofia Dabrowski, and aided by his dog Oscar, Victor traces the events that led to Sonny's death. His search leads him into Manchester's hidden places, disused buildings, private security firms, and communities forced to live in the margins. But as he closes in on the truth, Victor finds himself caught between powerful interests, a grieving crime family, and a city willing to look the other way. Someone wanted his old friend silenced. Can Victor find out why before he meets a similar fate? Last One Out by Jane Harper. Caroline Ridge, a once vibrant village in rural north-south Wales, has become a shell of itself, its houses and buildings bought up and left to rot by the mining company operating at its borders. A decade into its slow death, surrounded by industrial noise and swathed in thick layers of dust, the skeletal town is all but abandoned and just a handful of residents clinging onto what remains. After years of scorning those who left the ridge behind as it fell into ruin, Ro never imagined she'd become one of them, but everything changed when she lost her son. 5 years ago, Sam vanished while visiting during a break from college, leaving behind a rental car with his belongings inside. Sam had loved Caroline Ridge and had been working on an oral history of the town to preserve its legacy before it vanished altogether. It wasn't long after his disappearance that the rest of the family began to crumble away too. But when Ro returns to Caroline Ridge to be with her husband and daughter on the anniversary of Sam's disappearance, she begins to suspect that something important was overlooked in his case. Because while nothing can stop Caroline Ridge from dying, someone seems to want to make sure that its secrets die with it. End of that row. Douglas E. Richards has a new one. Split Second by Douglas E. Richard. If you found a way to send what if you found a way to send something back in time, but not weeks, days, or even minutes back? What if you could only send something back a fraction of a second? Would this be of any use? You wouldn't have nearly enough time to right a wrong, change an event, or win a lottery. Nathan Wexler is a brilliant physicist who thinks he's found a way to send matter a split second back into the past, but before he can even confirm his findings, he and his wife-to-be, Jenna Morrison, find themselves in a battle for their very lives. Because while time travel to an instant earlier seems useless, Jenna comes to learn that no capability in history has ever been more profound or far-reaching. Now as Jenna fights to defeat the powerful forces arrayed against her, nothing less than the fate of humanity hangs in the balance. The Lost Summer by Wendy Corsi Staub. Second in the Haven Cliff series. Detective Sergeant Midge Kennedy and her lifelong pals Talia and Kelly have reunited on the 25th anniversary of the disappearance of their friend Carolyn, hoping to find that summer of loss, put that summer of loss behind them. But as the season draws to a close in Mulberry Bay, Midge is plunged into a missing person case that is with unsettling ties to the past. Ordinarily, she wouldn't suspect foul play when a 16-year-old girl is just a few hours late getting home on a beautiful summer afternoon, but her investigation yields a shocking glimpse of a familiar face and mounting coincidences that link Sarah Green's vanishing to Carolyn's. The clues lead to Havencliff, an abandoned Gilded Age estate that's been the stuff of cursed legend for generations. It's also Kelly's new home, restored after decades of ruin. Mitch suspects that the wooded grounds hold the key to Sarah's fate and Carolyn's. But will Havencliff and Mitch herself give up long-buried secrets? The Missing Ones by A.R. Torre. Behind the manicured lawns and guarded gates of Crestmore Estates lies a neighborhood built on secrets. 5 years ago, 3 residents vanished without a trace. No bodies, no answers, just rumors whispered around the country club. Now, when human remains surface on the golf course, old suspicions materialize and the spotlight falls on the women left behind. Andrea Kendall knows what people think, that her brilliant surgeon husband had something to do with his first wife's bloody disappearance. How do you know it was bloody? Sarah Batcher has spent years defending herself against accusations that killed her husband. And Katie Morrow, the community's youngest trophy wife, can't escape the suspicious shadows cast by her husband's ex-wife. As the investigation circles closer, the wives find themselves bound together by fear, betrayal, and the ghosts of the missing. In a neighborhood where appearances are everything, each must decide what she'll sacrifice to protect her carefully constructed life before someone else decides to shatter them all. The Scorpion Thief by Jane Tromp. Third in the Threads of the Lost Myth series. A deadly Cold War political game, a cursed Egyptian artifact, two sisters, one of the treasure's guardian, the other its thief. Egyptologist Nora Marquette has spent her life piecing together remnants of the past, but nothing prepares her for the day her sister resurfaces in Cairo. Estranged for years, Estelle unleashes a web of whispered threats and dangerous connections that capture Nora in a treacherous snare of betrayal, art theft, and espionage. In Washington, Nixon's administration maneuvers to use King Tutankhamun's treasures as a glittering tool of propaganda. From the souks of Cairo to the hurricane-lashed streets of New Orleans, something older than history watches, stalking Nora as loyalties fracture and the lines between history and myth blur. Some curses never sleep, and some debts can never be repaid. I wouldn't have thought that was that kind of book from the cover. Interesting. End of that row. The Unforeseen by Claire Ackroyd. Some fears should be ignored, others can't be. Lara, whatever, has spent years trying to outrun her past, and experience has taught her to recognize danger. So when she becomes convinced her sister Hannah's life is at risk, she knows she can't ignore it. The sisters are about to reunite at a remote cottage for their mother's 50th birthday, and Lara is certain something terrible is coming. But Lara's deepening anxieties only reawaken old tensions. With her young daughter watching on, she must navigate a maze of past trauma and doubts. And when relationships between the cottage guests begin to unravel, the sisters discover that some threats are all too real. As autumn leaves fall and shadows lengthen, the line between protection and destruction begins to blur. Can Lara save her sister without destroying everything and everyone she loves? Too Close to Home by Serafina Nova Glass. Those lucky enough to live in the elite lakefront community of Clover Hill Lakes are drawn to it for its safety and top-notch school district. The moms meet for coffee at the park while their kids play. They're heavily involved in the PTA, and the summers are filled with Chardonnay, brunch, sundresses, and backyard bonfires. But everything changes when Reagan Hoffman's car explodes at the annual Labor Day party. Well, yeah, I would. The wrong person is killed, but it was meant for her. As the carefully crafted walls of her community begin to crumble, Reagan tries to keep it together, something made infinitely harder when she sees her dead husband alive. When a Clover Hill Lakes resident suddenly goes missing, dark secrets begin to surface from underneath the idyllic veneer of their beautiful community, and the truth threatens to destroy them all as Reagan finds herself in a fight for her life. It says it has twists that will leave you breathless. Who Knew the Ridpath Girl? By Stacy Johns. Welcome to Meander, where truths are best left buried. Grayson Ridpath has a secret. As the host of a successful YouTube channel for stay-at-home dads, Grayson is known for his his handy tips, and trademark self-deprecating humor. But off camera, he struggles with the aftereffects of a tragedy that shaped him and everyone else in his hometown of Meander, the death of his 11-year-old sister, Dougie. What is up with these names? When Grayson mentions his sister's long ago death for the first time on his channel, he taps a vein of interest he hasn't known existed. Soon enough, he finds himself discussing a theory he'd kept quiet for years, that Dougie chose to die, and he's finally figured out why and who is to blame. At first, Grayson is grateful for the jump in views until his shift in context brings Quinn, Dougie's childhood best friend, back to Meander looking for answers. And when people start dying around them, the detectives start asking questions. Grayson and Quinn find themselves at the center of an investigation that will prove to have consequences deadlier than they ever could have imagined. And I forgot to click on it, so we'll give it its moment. Well, I checked something. I thought there was a Finley, or was it a hardback to paperback? That is probably the case. The site that I go to has publication dates of a paperback coming out from the hardback from the previous year. I think that is the case. Oh well. That is it. That's all we have. I don't think I'm really tempted by them. They all seem a little the same. Lena finished her book. Yay! Congratulations! Woo! Good job. And Mary says, congratulations, Elena. And says, don't hear that name often, Serafina. It is lovely. Yeah. Amy says, I agree. Serafina, a beautiful name. And Amy says, congratulations, Elena. And Mary says, slim pickings. It is slim pickings. You know, there's that David Baldacci. That's about the only really big name that I'm aware of. Jane Harper, maybe. Yeah, Douglas Richard. There were a couple big names in there. The only one that really I might check out more is that Scorpion Thief. It's kind of a Garbogist possibility. Oh, we shall see. That is it. I am currently reading, since we have a minute, new release of the C.S. Harris, When the Wolves Are Silent. I got a library release of Shogun, the first part. I don't know if I want to read it. I think the mood has passed, but we'll see. We'll give it another day. That is it. Elena says, thank you, Amy. You bet. Again, I don't have any sprints tonight. Our next sprints are tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern for 2 hours. We do 2 hours every Tuesday and Thursday evenings, and then 5 hours on Saturday afternoon starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. I says, see you tomorrow. All right. Amy says, I'm reading Murder by Cheesecake. Interesting. Do you like cheesecake? I can take it or leave it. I don't know why. Brownies. Brownies are my downfall. Amy says, have a good day, everyone. We'll back at you, baby. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. All right to you, everybody. And Elaine says, yes, I do. Mary says, going to be in the 90s today. That's hooray. Okay, that sky's that sickly color yellow too. Uh-oh. Get ready to hunker down. Ooh. Alrighty. If Bobby is still here, Bobby, have a good birthday day. Happy leveling up. A new high score. And Mary says, have a great day, everyone. Thanks. You are welcome. Thank you, thank you. Alrighty. Everybody, be safe. Read good books. And don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Nom nom nom. Have a good day and God bless.